Okay, so this is going to be take one, potentially the only take, we'll see how this goes, of me sitting down and chatting about some of my visual communication design or graphic design projects that I did throughout school. Because for those of you who don't know, I am a graphic design major. I got a BA in VCD, and I have a lot to say and a lot I could say about the fact that I would have preferred a BFA and school during the pandemic and how that really put a damper on my learning and education. And I might bring some of that up during, while I'm talking and chatting about some of my projects, but for the sake of this video, I just wanted to chat about the things that I'm proud of and this website that I made and created using an online website editor called Wix. I didn't learn HTML, so I didn't learn how to build a website from scratch, but I did learn web design. It was one of my focuses. I love it, and I really enjoy UX design. It's like one of my favorite things, and I got some amazing projects out of it, and I'm super excited to show you all of the projects that I've completed. So I think that's about as good of an intro as I'm going to be able to give. I'm Rory Fluent. Feel free to call me Rory. If you're new around here, hi, hello, how are you? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I like to create dope art content and hopefully a chill atmosphere. And if you're not new around here, what is up, my dudes? Let's jump into this video. So I specifically got one really nice comment on a recent video, just kind of asking and saying that they would really appreciate it if I went through some of my graphic design projects. And so that's why I'm here doing this, because I got a little bit of feedback, and who am I to ignore that feedback, no matter how minimal. One comment is still enough, especially when you're this small of a YouTuber. So as you can see here, as we're cycling through or as my website is cycling through these process photos, I decided to kind of use that as a little bit of an intro into my website and into some of the things that I've created, all of which I'll break down. This isn't even half of what I ended up completing and finishing in school. Now, there aren't any of my early on projects in my schooling, because those necessarily weren't the best and weren't something that I would want to put in my portfolio, but they were amazing for building blocks. And I don't know, maybe I will insert some footage of me like talking about some of them and going through some of them physically, because a lot of those projects were more physical than digital. I know that throughout this video I want to insert clips of me talking about what I do have physically and what I did create physically, because as you can see, I did both print and web design, so I learned how to complete and design things for both print and digital, or to be viewed both via like physically printed and digitally on a screen. Okay, so as we kind of start scrolling down, here are some of my projects. They're in no particular order. It wasn't necessarily, especially with this being a website portfolio, I didn't have an order of like what I needed to place that was most important, because you're seeing a whole swath of them almost immediately. But I also made sure not to put the projects that I liked the least last or anything like that. You never want to put your best first in a portfolio or your worst last. You kind of want to sprinkle everything throughout so that generally whoever's looking at your portfolio and looking at your design work sees consistent work, consistency. For the sake of this video, I'll go ahead and just start from the top right and kind of make my way around. This was a project that I created in a class called Advertising Illustration. It was one of my senior classes. I really enjoyed it. I got to work with an amazing professor who worked in retail design specifically, but she had been a freelancer working for large corporations like Joann Fabrics and Target and so many more. So learning from her was like a huge deal to me, and I was just ecstatic. I specifically chose the class because I knew that she would be the professor. In this class, the general goal was to learn retail design, that is to say, advertising, marketing, learning about how to design the exterior of buildings, a little bit about the interior, and a lot about using illustration and merging it with design concepts to create elevated designs that were heavily based in illustration, and specifically for marketing. Our first project was actually this pizza box redesign where we were given a specific logo and brand of pizza that is sold here in the US called Home Run Inn, and we weren't allowed to fuck with the logo at all. We had to keep it as it was and design around it and keeping it in mind. So this was my take on that project. This was my second pass at it, actually. You'll find that I often kind of took the time to go back to older projects or projects that maybe I wasn't that happy with and take what I learned and apply that to a new idea or new concept. And so that's exactly what I did here. So we landed on this idea of something that felt kind of collaged and collectible, something that would appeal to college students who are oftentimes buying pizza, especially from the frozen aisle. And we had to create spot illustrations, a finalized pizza box, and a couple social media posts. And that's what you're looking at here. And in the end, I feel like I nailed my audience. I feel like I had a lot of fun with these expressive pizza drawings, and I think that the box looks pretty cool. You know, I don't know about these like little repeated pizzas on the side, but if you envision it being also copied on the other side and then maybe here on the back side, I feel like it kind of makes sense. And these two social media posts were something that I was really happy with, and I feel like they really captured the laid back vibe that I was going for. And moving on here, let's see. Okay, so this was for a intro to 3D design class that I took. This was also during my senior year, and the point of the class was to create 3D models of all kinds of things. And this specifically was for what would be a traveling exhibit, so something that would pop up, be easily removed, and easily movable, and it would be about a location in Ohio. And so the location that my group, because it was a group project, chose was that of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And we brainstormed, we collaborated, and in the end, we decided to land on a specific part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that we felt like didn't have a lot of light shed on it, but was a huge part of music history. And that was psychedelic rock. And so we chose this small part of the museum to expand on and create our own small traveling exhibit. This was one of my favorite projects specifically because it was collaborative and I took on the role of team lead. So generally I was creating not the art that you see here that was actually made from a peer of mine, but I was generally keeping everyone on task, creating the major themes and ideas. I wrote all of the body copy, which is any of the text that you see. I chose the titles, and I also created the entire timeline. So I synthesized all of the information, created all of the typography that was, or I guess not typography, but all the type that was needed for the body copy, all of the titles and subtitles, and then I personally created the fluid lines and built the entire timeline and synthesized all of that information and put it together. And in the end, we created this really interesting small model for a real traveling exhibit that could be built off of this model. So all of the schematics and all of the measurements that we took had to be on a specific scale that actually could be translated into a larger created exhibit. Moving on from here, let's see, I need to speed it up. I don't want this video to be too long. This was actually part of the same project as the pizza box design. I just went ahead and took it on myself to do the other option that we had. So there was a pizza box and then there was hard seltzer. And the interesting thing about the hard seltzer, or no, I don't think it was hard seltzer, just seltzer water. The interesting thing about that is that we actually got to create the logo. And so I went ahead and created my own logo, created my own template for 4 or 5 different sodas, and I even created a social media piece and a box that, one of the flavors would be sold in, and this would be a template for all of the other boxes. And this was something that I did on my own and went to my peers about and had them critique and help me to make this the best that I could on my own. And I really, really love it. I think the really graphic offset lines around the bold shapes are interesting. I'm happy with my color schemes. I think they're really interesting and kind of alternative. And in the end, I just felt like this project came together really nicely for me. And I was really, really proud of the way that it turned out. And the theme of, what was it that I decided on? Be ready for the spotlight, as this sort of thematic element that carried through all my entire idea and concept, with House being based in New York and New York being such a wonderful scene for theater. I thought having this sort of spotlight looking shape shining on the different citruses that they had to offer would be an interesting way to tie the roots of House, New York, along with an interesting graphic design. And so yeah, we ended up here, and it's something that I'm really proud of and I really, really like. This was from the same 3D class. This was our first project, and we had to physically create packaging, and it was challenging but interesting. And so we had to create packaging for 3 items under one label. We had quite a few things to pick from. I chose this tea by, Meridian Tea. So I created a small logo for Meridian Tea, and as you can see it kind of here, and then I created these sort of base sketches and ideas through a lot of iteration. You can't see it here, but I have quite a lot of sketches and ideas. I don't know if I kept them. If I did, I'll probably insert a little video of me kind of going through those, because it took a little bit to get here, and in the end I was actually pretty happy with the way that it turned out. The green tea specifically is one that I'm really proud of, and I think that the Earl Grey and the black chai could use some adjusting. I don't mind the Earl Grey, but the black chai specifically, the illustrations on it are just a little bit too dark, and they needed a little bit more contrast and to be lightened. From here, we have my first UX piece. So I love this design, and I had so much fun with it. So let's see. This was my Caro app design. Everything from start to finish is mine. Everything was my idea, my concept, my problem that I wanted to solve. It was all something that I was interested. I don't really know why this is being cut off here, so I might go back in and adjust that. But you can see here that I have sort of a little click through showing you guys and showing anyone who wants to look at it exactly every single panel that I designed, which is also shown here, even though the side is a little bit cut off, which I don't like. And so basically, I wanted to take this idea of people using an app and having an app. Actually, this is cut off too. Give me a second. Okay, so I kind of fixed it, I guess. It looks completely fine when you're on the website editor, and then is doing a little bit strange things here, but I definitely fixed the little screen recording of me cycling through my app. And so anyways, the original idea was just to have a place where people can have widespread information about the kinds of animals that are in their area, and to be able to report when they've seen an animal be hit or if they've hit an animal themselves, and in doing so, allowing people to see highly trafficked roads that are highly trafficked by animals, and so that they can be more aware and more conscientious of these animals while they're driving, and be on the lookout for them to hopefully minimize animal deaths and to make driving safer. And so with this concept in mind, I basically just had to brainstorm different ideas. You can see here, this is one of many of my, what are they called? It's not a wireframe, it is it's a flowchart. This is one of 3 different kinds of flowcharts that I made, and this piece of paper here was about the size of me. And I was just basically what you have here as my final app screens were synthesized down into these by just making tons of flowcharts and figuring out where I could basically like converge different ideas and what different pathways I wanted people to be able to have and how many different pathways they had to get to one specific screen. And, you know, from there, how could they get back to different pathways? And so it was a lot of really intense UX design learning for me because it was my first time designing an app, and it wasn't in a UX class. It was in my graphic design 2 class, and I was just taking this on to myself. And so all of this was self-driven and self-run, and my professor, who majored more in like print design and was specifically more of a print designer, was very little help. So I had to reach out to other professors and other people who have taken web design classes and professors from those web design classes to help me build this app. And in the end, I ended up with a product that I'm really happy with and really, really proud of. And you can see here I have some like what it would look like in the App Store, some maybe marketing and promotional photos, and a picture of my flowchart, one of them, my final app screens, and then this little screenplay of me cycling through the different versions or different screens on my app. From here, you can also see you can go into my XD file. I don't know if it'll like, oh, yep. And see, just like this, you can kind of like go into the app and like see what I did. Look how fun. Oh my God, this was so long ago. Let's see here. So then, like, ideally you would be able to like cycle through weekly, monthly, that kind of thing. And then here, you know, like it could show you the different information for different animals. All of these icons are mine. If you wanted to report an animal, this might be theoretically what this would look like. Once you completed it, you would go back to the Discover page, you know, and here you would be able to click on these. So I did end up being able to map it so that you can click on them. If you click on route data, you'll come here, and all of this information and all of this research and all of just everything that you can see on this screen is mine. And I'm really proud of it because it took me half a semester, and I'm just like really, really happy with the way that it turned out, because that isn't a lot of time to design something that you've literally never ever designed before. And so it was just really rewarding and one of my favorite projects that I've completed. Capstone projects are ideally projects that are done in one semester, and they're supposed to be synthesizing everything that you've learned as a designer. Now, sadly, my capstone project was run by an illustration professor, which I know doesn't sound like a bad thing, but he wasn't a designer, and because of that, I feel like my capstone project really didn't turn out as good as it could have. But these are some of the images that you can see here. So the base idea was to create a brand. So I wanted to create a brand from scratch, and I wanted to create its logo and its mission statement. And then I wanted to have products that this brand sold. The whole goal of the brand was to stop misinformation about animals, specifically animals that a lot of people take on as pets, and to give people these kits that are filled with everything that they need to be able to take care of a pet that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have been able to, but decided to take on them to themselves because, I don't know, they're a parent and their child wanted a lizard, so they got them a lizard. And I wanted to provide people with a brand and a company that would synthesize data for them and give it to them in this nice little kit that they could purchase, and it would be like a starter kit for taking care of their animal. So as you can see, I created an Instagram style and a consistent identity that this brand would use. I created tons of spot illustrations, products, boxes. This is like a food pack that it would come in the kit, and then this is another food pack that would come in the kit. I chose to do axolotls because they were a creature currently in like 2021 when I was designing this that were being adopted by a lot of people and not properly taken care of and then dumped, and it was a huge issue, and so I wanted to tackle that. So let's see, going into my full process PDF, we can see here I designed something that could be printed out as a booklet. You can see I started out with a couple mood boards, some spot illustrations, a brand statement, and a general identity, so branding that I could use consistently throughout all kinds of different design mediums, whether it be digitally or print. I had some basic ideas. I had an idea for it being called Nuggets, and then I kind of loved the idea of inchworm, some concept sketches for the booklet, the informational booklet that would come in the kit, and then here you get into the finals. This is the typography that I chose to use, and how I chose to use it, the color that I ended up choosing for this specific kit, the logo that would be regarding any of the kits because they are created by this brand Inchworm, the mark that would ideally go on the axolotl kit, and then as you have different animals, this sort of headshot with these two blobs would be used identically but with a different animal head, and more doodles and concept designs, final illustrations for 3 different boxes that I created, but the axolotl one is the only one that I saw through in its entirety. Some social media, again, the same, I will probably insert a video of myself kind of like showing off the physical designs, so I might like put a pin in this for a second and go to that. And now coming from that, you can kind of see I have these final product shots and the final boxes that I put together of the different animals. The axolotl one I think is the one that's the best designed, but that's because the other 2 were mainly just for conceptual purposes to show off how I feel this brand would integrate with other animals and other design illustrations. And so with all of that being said, I am really proud of it, especially the inside of the box is probably one of my favorite things. And like I mentioned, the axolotl box I think is perfect. It's really exactly how I wanted it to be. And the other 2 are just kind of for conceptual, like proof of concept, basically. And so they're not perfect and they could use some more time, but that's the idea, is just to show that this might be a way that we could integrate other animals into the designs and into this brand. So the inside of the box, the physical packages, and the booklet are definitely like my favorite. I'm really, really proud of the different, I don't know, how intensive I took this project on, creating a brand and a mission statement from scratch, and then creating marks, tons of spot illustrations, an entire booklet with information that I personally had to create, and body copy that I wrote, and then a box full of new illustrations, and all of it looking cohesive. That was something that I was very proud of and still am very, very proud of. I decided to go ahead and split up this video because when I exported it, it was 50 minutes long, and I just felt like that was a really long time if it was more like 40 minutes or like 45 maybe even, but I think it was going on an hour and it was just like way too long. So I went ahead and kind of stopped this first part at the end of my capstone project because I felt like it was a pretty good sort of all-encompassing project. I made a couple good points and I was just kind of talking generally about my dissatisfaction with the class and how, you know, in my opinion and in my experience, college was like a dice roll, okay? Every class that I took was entirely and heavily dependent on the professor, and while I was able to reach out in my own time and spend a lot of time with peers and other professors asking and begging for critique to get better, I felt like personally that should have been something that was just already implemented in my classes, and it wasn't always that way. And so I'm happy to show off what I was able to create to you guys, and I hope that you have enjoyed kind of sitting down with me, making some art, and listening to me chat through some of my projects that I'm really proud of. And I'm planning on creating a second video, editing it, adding in a little voiceover to explain that it's a second part of a video that I did film all as one, and hopefully you'll join me for that one. And yeah, I will talk to you in that video. Bye!